Okay, here on the MMA Outsider Podcast, we got a special guest this week. We're joined by Bellator featherweight contender. He made it to the final of the tournament earlier this year before losing to Patricio Pitbull Freire, but now he's got a big fight coming up this weekend. It's Daniel Straus. Daniel, how you doing?
I'm alright. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for doing the show. So you have an interesting opponent this weekend. Is it on Friday or Saturday?
It's on Saturday.
Saturday. Okay, it's in Cleveland, Ohio. It's the NAAFS lightweight title is going to be on the line. You're fighting Jason Dent, and that's someone people are probably familiar with. He was on The Ultimate Fighter, and he had a couple of fights in the UFC. And I saw some other reports talking about how you two are both from the same state, so you've been interested in fighting him just to kind of show who's the best in the state of Ohio. But what do you know about Dent as far as his fighting style and what kind of challenges he brings to the table?
Dent's always been a tough fighter. He's always been a decent Thai guy. Also, he's always pretty good on the ground and pretty decent stand up, and always had a pretty good cardio. So fighting him is gonna be a good challenge for myself. You know what I mean? Because it's gonna be able to test myself in all areas as far as fighting a person that is very well rounded.
Right, and we've seen you compete at featherweight recently, so fighting at 155, what kind of changes do you get to make? I mean, do you just not cut any weight, or do you add on a little more weight, or do you think it might benefit you from not having to do the weight cut? How do you think that'll play out?
Hopefully it plays out like it's played out in all my other 55 weight fights. When I fight at 55, I really don't cut much weight. I walk around about like 58, 56. So, I feel like it's good for me because, while I'm training, I don't have to worry about, cutting so much weight. I still eat very healthy and make sure I eat, well, which is probably, another reason why I do stay around the weight that I am. But, it definitely, like I said, it helps.
Yeah, now going back to your Bellator run, obviously you did surprise a lot of the fake experts like myself, and we think we know it all. But you did make it to the finals. You beat Nazareno Meligari, and Kenny Foster choked him out pretty impressively. And the fight with Patricio Pitbull was actually really competitive. And I'm sure you're disappointed that you didn't go all the way with it. But what did you think of your performance in the finals? And looking back at it, what do you think you should have done differently?
Looking back at the fight, after the fight, Kieran came up to me and said, the one thing about that fight is I just didn't have my foot on the gas like I did normal fights. And, I watched the tape over and over and over, and, he's pretty much right. I didn't push the action like I usually do. I know I respected his game a lot, and he respected my game a lot, and I think just with that, he pushed harder than I did. As far as my performance, I wasn't completely disappointed by it, but, obviously, know that there needed to be work to be done with, with what I thought. But, I was, as far as the tournament, though, I was pretty happy with, what happened in the tournament. First round, I got Nazareno, and, a super tough guy, really good jiu-jitsu guy. And on top of that, he was a very, very strong guy. Beat him, got to fight Kenny, which is a good friend of mine. Another super, super tough guy, really good athlete, very strong. And that was just another, a good moment in my career because, I didn't, me going into that fight, it was just, I hope he doesn't try to go for the shots. He knew he was pretty equal in the wrestling, but it was just who would play out the hands better. And, to get a choke out win and a submission win over him was really good. And, just going into that finals, man, I didn't play the game that I normally play.
Mm-hmm. Now you seem like a pretty easygoing, hardworking guy. I was wondering, as far as your MMA career, I'm sure you're getting a lot more exposure, a lot more interview requests now. Like not just me, but MMA junkies had you on. So, you're making the rounds. What do you think of having all the additional spotlight on you now that you've been on national TV and done so well?
As far as getting my name out there, I always loved it. try to get my name out there and get people to watch me and recognize me as a fighter. As far as the companies and fight promoters and stuff like that. But as far as fans and stuff like that, man, I'm just a regular guy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really do much. I don't see myself as a superstar. I don't walk down the street. People, recognize me all the time or nothing like that. I'm just a normal guy. I like to hang out, kick it. But when it comes to my fighting, I take it very seriously. So,
Mm-hmm.
people just, I think that's the reason why people like me so much, it's because I'm not a guy that's walking around with my head up my butt, you know what I mean? Because I think I'm.
Yeah, now, going back to, I know, don't want to harp on your last loss, but I think you had, a 12-fight winning streak, give or take. So, now that streak's been cut short, I mean, do you feel like a little bit of pressure's off, like you can, start over and try to get a new one going? Or, what was it like? Because you haven't lost in a long time.
You know what? It was a good release, man. That loss, it wasn't, it didn't tear me up bad or anything like that. I wasn't like, oh my God, I lost the fight. And I was like, after I lost the fight, I kept telling myself, that's what you get. You know what I mean? I wasn't super bothered by it, but, it just let me know that, I needed to train harder. You know what I mean? To me, the pressure wasn't on me, going to all those fights, without losing. Because I didn't really think about it as, I won 12 in a row. I just thought about it as my next fight. My next fight, you need to win your next fight.
Mm-hmm.
I always look at it like I'm in a dire situation that if I lose my next fight, I'm probably going to get cut from whatever show or whatever organization I'm with. So, that's pretty much how I racked up those 12, you know what I mean, by just keeping that mentality of, you need to keep going hard. And, the 1 second that I lost that, I lost my fight. So, that's what really, really, I learned from that. So, just people can expect for me to come back with another 12 win,
Mm-hmm. Now, going back to your fight with Jason Dent, you and he have both fought on the pretty big stage. Like I said, he's been in the UFC a couple times on the undercards. You fought, for Bellator. You fought for Strikeforce, so you've got plenty of experience yourself. How do you, I guess, figure out, how this fight might go down? Because I want to say he competed at 170 on The Ultimate Fighter. I don't remember, but I do know that, his last fight out he fought at 170 against Chris Lozano, and that's a pretty big, tough dude. So, I'm sure it's going to be different fighting, a guy, more in the same weight class than that. And his other opponents like George Soteropoulos and what was it, Cameron Dollar. I mean, they don't seem to have as good of a wrestling base and just, strength base that you have. So, is there anything that you've been able to kind of get from his last few fights that you think will help you, or do you think you're going to be kind of a completely different style matchup for him?
I've worked on a lot of different things. A lot of people know that I'm a wrestler, but I've never, and since when it came out to, I've never had the game plan taking somebody down and let's beat him up because you're a better wrestler than him. That's just not me, you know what I mean? When I know somebody's strength, I'm kind of bullheaded, you know what I mean? If I know your strength and I know your strength is, standing, my goal is to beat you where you're strong at, you know what I mean? And once I beat you where you're strong at, I feel like, fighters start to shut down, you know what I mean? And that's that's always been one of my goals is to break that fighter's heart.
Right.
So, with this fight, like I said, it's really hard. It's hard to say, you know what I mean, because he's so well-rounded. But, the thing about this fight is that, it's not got to be an easy win for either one of us. You know what I mean? He's not a pushover, and I don't believe that I'm a pushover. So, he's coming up with a couple losses and one's making a huge win. And, I'm coming off a loss myself, and I want to come back with a huge win. So, I definitely believe it's going to be a fight that, people definitely want to take.
Right, and before I let you go, lastly, you mentioned wanting to beat a guy at their strength, and he has a very good submission game. That's how he's won a lot of his fights. But, you submitted Kenny Foster very impressively, and you were on the ground rolling around with Patricio Pitbull Freire. He's a black belt. He's really good in that position as well. So I assume you're pretty confident that if it goes to the ground, that Dent's not going to automatically have an advantage on you.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people haven't seen my jiu-jitsu, and, I used to get a lot of criticism, like, well, he doesn't have too much of a ground game. That's only because they never seen my ground game. You know what I mean? I don't believe my submission over Kenny Foster even scratched the surface of showing you my ground game. You know what I mean? I'm very well skilled on the ground. I actually like being on the ground. I like, I don't necessarily like my back on the mat, but, I'm very comfortable with it. When I fall out of the ring, he's a jiu-jitsu black belt. I had my back for 2 minutes, and, a lot of people couldn't believe he got out. Well, I could, because, I'm very, very, very comfortable being on the ground. So, I think wherever he tries to push the fight, I'm going to push it a different way, and I'm going to push it harder. So.
And one last question I had was, the one guy that did beat you, I believe, before your win streak started was Pat Curran, and of course, he went on and won one of the featherweight tournaments recently, and that's a pretty stacked weight class right now. You got yourself, Patricio Joe Warren, the champion currently right now. You have Marlon Sandro, champion over in Japan, who's here now, who's a really tough fighter. What do you think of the Bellator 145 weight class overall and just how deep it's gotten? And would part of you like to maybe get a crack at Pat Curran some chance down the road just so you can maybe try to erase that loss?
The 145 weight class like you said, it's stacked, and, anyone that denies that is a fool. You know what I mean? Like you said, look at all the people that are in it. You know what I mean? There's definitely tough guys in there, and that's one of the things that pushes me, because when I fight the tougher the guys I fight, obviously the better I get. And, it's a blessing just to be a part and among them. As far as Pat, I would definitely like to fight Pat again. I fought Pat very young in my career. He beat me, and it's not like I have any hard feelings for him or anything like that. Pat's a great guy. I've actually been out there once or twice and trained with him and stuff. And, really cool guy and whatnot. But, as far as fighting comes, everyone that has a loss always loved to have been that loss. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And, that's definitely something I would want to do. Is fight him again as far as, avenging that loss. But, and Pitbull too as well, and any other guy I've lost to. You can be the worst guy in the world, and if I lose to you and I'm on a better scale than you, no matter what, I still would like to fight you again. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, like I said, I appreciate it because I know your fight's coming up. Once again, it's the NAAFS lightweight title against UFC veteran Jason Dent taking on Bellator veteran Daniel Straus. It's going to be in Cleveland, Ohio, so if you're anywhere near the show, you should definitely go check it out. Before we cut it off, do you got any sponsors or any other plugs or thank yous you'd like to give?
Yeah, I would like to say thank you to Bellator. I'd like to say thank you to NAAFS, my team, Vision, Cincinnati, Ohio. Big shout out to Brian Furby and Ultimate Wrestlers and those guys, D1, everybody's health and Beacon Orthopedics.
All right, great. Well, like I said, I appreciate it, and good luck with the fight, and we'll hopefully talk to you again soon. Thanks a lot.